Welcome back, everybody, to the On-Campus Report here with News Talk 1480 WHBC. I'm Noah Hiles, and joining me for this week's report is St. Thomas Aquinas alum and All-American offensive lineman for Division II Notre Dame College, Jimmy Burchett. Jimmy, All-American is now in the title for your name. How does that feel? Let's start there.
Well, it is pretty outstanding to hear that. To be an All-American, especially going in just a sophomore. And the interesting fact is I was actually the only sophomore offensive lineman in the country to be voted All-American, and I actually didn't know that until my father brought it up to me later that year. So that's pretty extraordinary, but, I mean, it couldn't be done by myself at all. We had other great teammates on the offensive line along with our running back. So, I mean, as much as it is an individual award, it is a team group effort, but it is great to be recognized for such an award.
That's a pretty offensive lineman type answer right there. You know that, right? No, but in all reality, I mean, it is very impressive. Like you said, the only sophomore to get that type of recognition, and you're a guy coming from a pretty small school, and you went to the Division II level and had an immediate impact. You played 8 games, it said, your freshman year on a team that's always pretty much had a strong offensive line. What was it like to immediately get involved while you see other kids kind of have to wait their turn at college programs?
A little interesting story, actually, is going into camp, they were trying to give me a little bit of a heads up that I might be playing the very first game of the season versus what was at the time a ranked team in Shepherd. And what ended up happening is we came back from injury a little bit, so I wasn't needed that game. But coming into week 3, I kind of proven myself, and that was actually when I first got onto the field. And then from week 3 all the way to week 11, I played. So that was pretty fantastic feeling getting into that. But the way that I saw it is my first 3 weeks was kind of still me prepping myself to learn the playbook and everything. But once I finally got that down, it truly is a great feeling to finally get into the lineup and start playing. And I mean, I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question?
No, just you basically answered it. Just kind of how you go from the high school level to the college level and pretty much are immediately playing. How valuable was that experience to you, and how it got you to where you're at now?
Oh, yeah, it was remarkable. And you also just love the feeling and facial expressions you get from your parents when you tell them that you don't have to redshirt and you can go in and make an immediate impact to a complete different community and team. So that was probably the greatest feeling.
Now, last year, like we mentioned, you were named second-team All-American by multiple outlets. Were you surprised that you got that recognition? Obviously, you had to have been happy and pleased with your overall performance. I'm looking at the numbers, only allowing 12 sacks in 14 games. That's something offensive lines across any offensive line would be very proud of. You had one of the 7th-ranked offense in the nation, the 6th best rushing attack with a true freshman in the backfield. I knew you probably felt good as a unit, but were you expecting that individual recognition?
Funny story is, before we even had the all-conference awards come out, my teammates on the offensive line were telling me that I was, for sure going to get the first team, and I had a great season. I was just sitting back there thinking, I'm like, we all had a great season. I don't understand why y'all think I individually had, a spectacular season. So it came as a huge surprise to just be named first team all-conference, let alone become an All-American. So that itself was just crazy to me.
What's it like coming into your junior year as a preseason All-American? Do you feel like you have a little bit of a target on your back now that teams are going to maybe try to address your skill set in their game planning?
Honestly, I love the competition. I have a few friends over on teams that were playing this year on their defensive line, actually. So I've heard a couple comments from them telling them about their coach, how they have to look out for me and everything. And personally, I just take that as a new challenge. I like how other teams are now targeting me on our offensive line and just our offensive game plan. And so, I mean, I just look forward to everybody's best every week in and out. So,
speaking of targets for other teams that they'll be watching out for on your roster, there's a pretty talented guy in your backfield. Not only do you guys return your starting quarterback, your leading receiver from a year ago, you return, he's now a sophomore now, but Jaleel McLaughlin, who ran for over 2,200 yards last year as a freshman. There was an article on NCAA.com that predicted that he will break Danny Woodhead's Division II single-season rushing record, which is 2,756 yards. What's it like to block for a guy that talented, and is that a goal of your offensive line unit to help him break that record?
Oh, he's an incredible person to block for. He is one of the most humble persons I've ever met in my entire life. He, till this day, will say none of those yards came alone. Like every interview he's ever been in, he's always thanked his offensive line and his wide receivers for blocking for him. I've never met a nicer kid in my life, and he's actually voted a captain alongside me this year. So as much as he loves giving out awards for everybody else, I got to shout out my man right there. He's a great man, and as for that, the rushing record, that's something I've actually brought up to him today when we were walking to class. And he said that's nothing that's ever really on his mind. And he takes things week by week, which we all do. You got to go 1-0, you know. But in the long-term goal, it's something our O-line would love to do for the kid, because if there's anybody as deserving, it is Jaleel. There's no other man I would rather want to block for.
Now, you grew up in Alliance. Did you ever catch Nate Kamick playing for the Purple Raiders back in the day?
Yes, sir. I actually went to a few games with my grandfather, and we were actually at the game where he broke the school rushing record.
I was there too. Yeah, that was a special moment. That was
that was a great moment. Yeah, he's a great running back as well.
He certainly was. So, talked about Mount Union. They're familiar with national championships. You came very close to winning a national title of your own. I guess the team did last year. You lost in the semifinals, 30-24 to, is it Vedesta State?
Valdosta State.
Valdosta State in the semifinals, the one-score game. You're coming back this year, like I've already mentioned. A lot of returning talent. Of course, a lot of big guys up front, including yourself, a lot of skill players. You're ranked in one poll I saw, the coaches poll has you ranked 4th. D2football.com has you ranked 11th. I'm sure you're not happy with that. What's it, talk about last year's experience, I guess, first. Competing in the playoffs, going on that deep playoff run, and then the mentality this year on how you believe, you're going to set yourselves up for a national championship run in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year's team was something special to be a part of, no doubt. And going into the playoffs, we honestly didn't know what we were capable of. And we were fortunate enough to have a first week bye because of our regular season record of going 11-0. And we kind of took that week in to just really grasp of what we could actually do this season. And then when we started playing the games, we realized once you get through the first couple plays, it is nothing but just another football game. And with the talent we had, we were able to make it to the Final Four, which was an extraordinary achievement. But sadly, it wasn't the achievement we were looking for. But going into this season, we are actually returning 18 of our starters on both sides of the ball. So as far as a team that could be loaded with power, going for offense and defense, I would say it's looking pretty good for us. But I mean, our coach preaches every week on just going 1-0. So the big picture obviously is there, but we can't get to the big picture if we don't focus on the minute details going week in and week out to achieve that. So, but it should be a very fun year. That's all I can say.
All right, so let's talk about going 1-0. You guys got the opening game this week. What's the game plan? How's everyone looking?
Oh, yeah, we're going into Concord's actually coming to our field for week 1. And so far this week, we've actually had a great week of practice. And, I mean, if it isn't already given, we plan on running the ball quite a bit. So, but it should be a real fun week.
So let's talk about after football. You're getting up there now, the college career, you're halfway over. That's a scary thought. I've been there. What are your aspirations after football? Do you what's your college major? Are you really invested? Do you have a career path in mind, or are you interested in trying to play football at the next level?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, my A plan obviously would be to play at the next level. It's been a dream of mine ever since I was 5 years old. As soon as I started playing football as a little kid, every Halloween I dressed up as a football player. If I still dressed up, I would be a football player. That's kind of just been my lifelong dream, you know. There hasn't, up until I got to college, there really wasn't anything else I really even considered doing, you know. It's just been my passion ever since I've been on this earth playing sports. But my major is marketing, and I have a minor in management. And something, if the football career doesn't work out, something I always looked into was my brother actually works over at DHL as a manager, and he's in the marketing team. And that would just be something, if I could connect with my brother, because family is such a big thing in my life, if I would be able to be with my brother and work with him, that would be fantastic. But another thing I also thought about doing was becoming a fireman. My dad was a police officer for over 20 years in Alliance and Louisville. And that was always a dream of mine too, but I talked to him about it, and he preferred me to be a fireman instead. So that is also something that is in the career path maybe, but we just have to wait and see.
You just like protecting people, huh?
I guess. I like the way you put that.
So when you see leagues, obviously there's the NFL, but the XFL starting up, the AAF folded, but there's all these new leagues popping up, and of course there's the Arena League, there's the CFL also as options. Do you get a little bit more excited with the new opportunities that are coming up?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely love it. I mean, when it comes to playing football, it's kind of just a love for my game. Wherever I end up playing, I mean, it really would not matter to me. I hope it isn't anytime soon, but the day where I would have to hang up the cleats would be a very, very sad day for me. So, I mean, as far as opportunities go, I would love to get the chance to play somewhere after college, hopefully, and wherever it takes me. I mean, God has a plan.
I mean, 6'4", 310 pounds. You're a two-time All-American already. I think, at the very least, if you can stay healthy, you're going to get that opportunity. But let's not talk about Jimmy Burchett, the All-American college offensive lineman right now. Let's go back in time to talk about Jimmy Burchett, the St. Thomas Aquinas star, an all-state offensive lineman, all-district defensive lineman. You also were part of the wrestling team, is that right?
Yeah, yes, sir, I was.
Wrestling, baseball, and track and field. So a four-sport athlete. When you go to a small school like that, and I'm familiar with that. I also went to a small high school where you're kind of just involved with everything. And when you play small school football, you're playing both ways. Sometimes you're on special teams as well. You never really get off the field. How did that small school football mentality prepare you for the collegiate level?
Absolutely. Well, the small school mentality, one thing that I learned at St. Thomas is our community is very tight-knit, and you really get that family atmosphere from from everyone. So, I mean, that's kind of just like an environment I've grown up about. And when I got to Notre Dame, I kind of brought that with me, and it was already pre-existing. But, I mean, along with playing both ways of the ball, that helped a lot too, because when I came here and I was just playing on the offensive line, after my first series, I was just because it was habit for me to go to the defensive huddle, and I'm like, wait a sec, I don't have to do that anymore, which was kind of good because my endurance levels, just because I had to play offense and defense in high school, now I can just focus all my energy towards offense. And I think that's one of the reasons why my coaches love pulling me so much, is because when I'm out there on the field and I only have to go one way, I mean, your energy and conditioning sure was prepared for you in high school when you had to go both ways. So, I mean, that helps a lot. But as far as the family aspect, that was something we already had, but I'm glad I could carry it over. And I'm starting to notice in this team how it was in high school, where it's just a whole bunch of group of guys just trying to have some fun, and it's going to be a special season.
Your senior year of high school, you guys had a special season, made it all the way to Week 12. That was a pretty far playoff run as far as recent St. Thomas Aquinas teams are concerned. You had a lot of talent on that team as well. That was the 2016 season this happened. Talk a little bit about that group and what that team meant to you.
Absolutely. That was a great team for our school in history, and that playoff run, we actually were the first St. Thomas Aquinas team to host a playoff game, and we also won that game. So that was a great experience. But just going throughout the year, I mean, those were the same guys that we would have the same lunch together. I had 7 or 8 classes with actually our running back Nathan Rich, who was a very good friend of mine. And there was a lot of good talent on that team. We also had Francisco Pedroza, who's now a left tackle at West Lib, and Aaron Hoffman, who was a wide receiver for Walsh, and then Kyle O'Connor, who is now a long snapper for Army. So there was a lot of talent throughout the board. And as far as the family goes, outside of my family, those are my brothers, and to this day, I'll do anything for them. So that was just great, and it's an experience I'll never forget. And I got to thank St. Thomas for it, honestly.
Have you been able to keep up with St. Thomas this year?
I was actually invited to be a part of an offensive line camp at St. Thomas, but unfortunately we had training and everything going on back at Notre Dame. But reaching out to my brothers and everything before the first week, I mean, I try to stay in touch whenever I can. So
you saw their big win in Week 1, the overtime win?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All right, so what do you think of the team this year? Looking to rebound? Do you think they can do it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If there's anything St. Thomas can do, I mean, I believe in them fully. They got a great coach over there, Mike Cook. I love the man over there. I always see him whenever I go work out. I like what he's doing with the program, and I really hope things can turn around soon, but I believe he's the man to do it. So I'm excited, looking forward for the season for him.
All right, Jimmy, that's all I got. I just want to thank you for coming on and being a part of this. Luck this year and next year at Notre Dame College and whatever else lies ahead of you. I'm sure you have a very bright future both in this sport and off the field. Congratulations on what you've accomplished so far, and best of luck moving forward.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great day.
All right, that was Jimmy Burchett, former St. Thomas Aquinas offensive lineman, current All-American at Notre Dame College, here on the On-Campus Report for WHBC 1480.